Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
After breaking his duck last time out and becoming the 6th different winner in 7 rounds of the Apex Racing Academy Super Formula, Chris Rosenkrantz is looking to mount a late charge for the title, starting here at his home circuit, the Nürburgring, and round 8 of the season. Welcome to Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. I have back alongside me Aaron Smith with Samuli Kumo operating the broadcast for tonight. And Aaron, it's just been an incredible season. 6 different winners in 7 rounds, and it's pretty remarkable that Rosenkrantz went into the previous round with only 1 podium to his name. He's finally broken his duck, like I said before, and we still have a fair few drivers challenging for both the Pro and the AM titles with the second half of the season to come.
I mean, all season long, we've known that Rosenkrantz has the pace. We've seen it mainly in qualifying sessions that he can be lightning quick. I've raced against him a few times in the likes of Formula 3, and he is really, really quick on his day. Like last week at Road America, yeah, he was unbeatable, absolutely. But then, as we've seen a couple of times this season, he can just fall off a bit, and it can just have some terrible luck and get himself involved in a couple crashes, and it's a bit of a shame, really, because we know how talented he can be, and either just, as I said before, just can't get the luck right, or just gets himself involved in these silly incidents, Silverstone being one of them, where he just kept making a few mistakes and just kept falling down and down the order. But let's hope he can have a better race today than he has done over the course of the rest of the season. Of course, Schnebel was previously our championship leader, but now with the drop scores, I believe Marcos Alacon is leading, which he's been steadily improving over the course of the season, and I think is one of the only drivers to win more than once. So yeah, he's leading by 30 points right now, and he's got a steady lead. If he can keep just some good consistency all the way until the end, I think he can definitely beat the likes of Schnebel, and don't count out Faro in 3rd place as well.
Yeah, he is in the lead of the championship for the first time, but as you were saying, Aaron, only because we have included the drop scores. Alacon missed the first round of the championship, so if you include all the scores, then he's a bit behind Schnabel. But when you eliminate one, then with Alacon's relentless consistency and 2 race wins, he is at the top. But yeah, look at Rosenkrantz down there in 7th place. Could still bring it back, because we know he is capable of stringing together consecutive race wins. In the Amateur Championship, it is, if anything, probably even closer. Well, look at that. It's head-to-head between Grosseto and Pop with 248 points. K Brow is right in there with 3rd position. And of course, Grosseto has sort of been the Rosencrantz a bit of the AMs. Consistently fastest. Road America last time out was certainly the case, but once again getting himself involved in incidents, and that has allowed Pop and K Brow, who have had some good pace themselves, to almost level up the championship with a few rounds to go.
I've been saying this for a few seasons, that sometimes the AM Championship can just be better in every way than the pros, because a lot of the time in the pro you have 1 or 2 drivers who just seem to storm ahead of the rest of the field and just leave them all behind. Of course, we saw it in ARL prototypes. That's Edward Pop going for a spin in the middle part of the track. He's not going to be too happy with himself there. Cessna just luckily managing to avoid him, but yeah, like we saw in prototypes, someone like Marteau can just run away and no one else can really do anything about it, unfortunately. And this season, I'd say it's been close in both championships. Schnebel and Alarcon have definitely been the classes of the pro field so far. A couple drivers sneaking their way up into the top 3 occasionally, but they've really been on it mostly. His comeback last week as well was really, really good. Alarcon just always seems to have a level head. He doesn't get too over ambitious like some of these drivers do, and he's definitely my pick for the championship this season. I just think he's got a championship winning mentality. Cessna, though, on his first flying lap, I believe, coming around the final corner, what's he going to do? Set a purple first sector. Can he go ahead of Ben Ford? Not quite, just lost so much time over the rest of that lap. It was that last sector where he really lost a bunch of time, but still 2nd row on the grid so far. Now down to 3rd as Rosencrantz goes ahead of Ben Ford by 20 thousandths of a second. That was a good first few sectors from Rosencrantz. Lost a bit of time again in that last sector. Ben's last sector seems to be really, really good so far, but of course we've still got about a half of the field left to go in this qualifying session.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, Cezanne's sector time wasn't weak compared to the likes of Grosseto and Velo and K Brow, but yeah, it was just in comparison to Ford, who really did hook up that chicane and then also the final corner. So of course we have the groups, and all our groups have gone bar the final one, and we have had a few invalidated lap times. I think Jose Alzugare invalidated his lap, Joao Tambray, Cesar Giovinacci and Edward Pop. We saw Pop's instant, of course, but even those other drivers getting off tracks and not getting a representative lap time. So we have these final 6 drivers: Schnabel, Aberdeen, Paluch, Lofari, Winkler and Alarcon to complete this qualifying session. But it's a huge slide initially for Schnabel, the man who's looking to gain back points, and that's not the start to the lap that he wanted.
I mean, this car is absolutely killer on those fresh, cold tyres. At the rear of the car, it's like a completely different car compared to the other laps. It's so weird to get on the throttle compared to, I don't know, lap 5. The warm-up phase is crucial for this car, and Schnebel just proved it there as, yeah, his first sector is, well, quite a long way off the likes of Rosencrantz. He's about 6/10 in that first sector. His teammate, though, Lee Aberdeen, has gone 2/10 faster than Rosencrantz in that first sector alone. So this could be Lee Aberdeen's chance. Goes a bit wide there at the hairpin, but if he can just hook the rest of this lap up and be fairly close to Rosencrantz, this could be pole for the Australian.
Hasn't won a race so far this season, and did get his first podium actually last time out. It was a surprise that it took him that long. 4th place in the championship as well, currently for Aberdeen, and going for the team's championship with his teammate Schnabel. They are currently topping Alcontech in the team's title race. Schnabel is not going to go to pole position. He might go to provisional pole, but it's inevitable that it's going to get beat, I think. Oh, as there's a spin in the background as well. Schnabel is going to cross the line, and he only goes 5th position. It's Lofaro round. He'll be starting near the back. Who is going to go faster? Paluch moves up into 3rd position. Wasn't enough. Aberdeen can't improve either. He only goes to 3rd position. What can Winkler do? Alarcon moves up to 4th position. It's Carl Winkler who could still set the pace, but it's only 8th for Winkler, and it's a poor time for him and Schnabel. And Rosencrantz and Ford, even though they were not in the final group, end up forming our front row of the grid.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Ben Ford. He's only been in the championship for, I think, 2 rounds since Zandvoort, and he has just come on to this championship and just shown everyone up. Zandvoort, I think he started at the back and just clawed his way through the field. I think he had a decent Road America. I think he got involved in a couple incidents, but yeah, 20 thousandths away from Rosenkrantz in only your 3rd race. If he started right from the beginning, he could have been a real contender. But I mean, he's just picking up the scraps for the last remaining rounds. But really close and really impressive from the Brit.
Yeah, he will start alongside Rosenkrantz, 200ths of a second, the gap between the two of them. Then it was Aberdeen. Michael's Alarcon in 4th position, who hasn't won the last couple of rounds, did win at Silverstone, but it's just been relentless top 5s in all of the races he has started. Then it's Make Palic, Marco Cesana, Fabio Grosseto once again pole of the amateur drivers ahead of Winkler and Schnabel. Vella lines up in 10th, then it's Cabral, and Araya on his first ever race. And then behind that, we got a lot of drivers who did not set lap times. Well, Arroyo set a lap time, but then you got Lefari, Giovinacci, Alzugari, Pop, and Tambay, who all invalidated their lap times. I think that might be the highest proportion of the field we've had this season on a circuit that I don't necessarily think you would pick up off tracks, but it seemed like they weren't necessarily off tracks, and there were actual spins on their qualifying laps.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm trying to actually think of where the off tracks are at this track, but like you said, compared to other circuits where you kind of have to use like an outside curb or something to maximize lap time, here you don't really do that. There's not really that places to get an off track unless you make a mistake. And I mean, like we just saw, even if you do make a slight mistake, you may as well finish your lap because you'll jump 4 or 5 cars up the grid. So yeah, really surprising. But makes for a bit of a mixed up grid. We've got Lafaro and Giovinacci right down the order, who are rapid. And Lafaro, of course, one of our championship contenders. But let's see what they can do from 14th and 15th.
Here we go then. The lights about to illuminate this Nürburgring circuit for 39 laps of action. And away we launch. It's a good start for the pole sitter. A bit of wheel spin for one of the Corstone Racing drivers, but I don't think it was necessarily a poor start for Palic, albeit now he does lose a couple of places being stuck on the outside of the circuit. Ford trying to hold off Grosseto and Aberdeen going into turn 1. Looks like Grosseto's gone a little bit wide there. He will drop down into 5th position. There has been a spin. Looks like it's for Lofari, who's had an absolute mare. Vella as well after a strong qualifying performance has gone down, and Schnabel as well. So we've got 3 wide, and now we've got another spin, and that is Schnabel, and he's got big damage. So Lennart Schnabel, 2nd place in the championship. He qualified poorly, he was in the mix, and he has been a victim. And Lofari has a 2nd spin on this first lap.
That's 2 of our championship contenders who are just tumbling down the order. And Alarcon didn't have a good start either. He's down 3 places. So everyone in contention for that Pro Championship right now is kicking themselves. Lafaro has just lost a bunch of positions. And Schnabel, of course, losing even more. Tambay making up places there on Arroyo. Alarcon trying to defend from Winkler. It's a horrid start for all of our championship contenders. Although Grosseto in the AMS is up to 5th place. He's up a couple positions. And yeah, just a very mixed up grid. And that's what happens when you get some drivers who don't get the best of qualifying. They start all the way down, maybe try and be a bit aggressive off the start, or they just get caught up in that midfield chaos. And wow, they're all paying the price for it now.
Top 4 trying to break away. Grosseto was very wide himself, but it was actually a really nice start for Grosseto. Up 2 places. I think they were 100% legitimate past Palic, and of course you mentioned Alarcon losing time as well, but Palic knows he needs to pass Grosseto. He does usually lose time as the race goes on. You can see how Grosseto's light is slowly flashing. He's clearly used a bit of overtake on this first lap. There's Batson behind them. There's also Batson with Palic looking to get past. There goes his teammate Winkler after a poor qualifying, trying to make it an even worse day for Alarcon. He might have a good chance into turn 2. He's at least forced the Spaniard offline, and they'll continue battling through this first sector of the lap, but Alarcon holds off. But he looks like he's more likely to drop further back than recover the positions he's already lost.
It doesn't look like he had any damage there, so I'm not really sure. Maybe Alarcon's just lacking a bit of confidence. Schnabel already got spun round, and then coming into turn 3, Cabral comes back onto the track, and I'm not sure who that was that hit him.
Was it Vella?
It might have been Vella, yes. And yeah, you can see there just big damage for the Alcantech car. Real big shame for his championship hopes, as where he was already 30 points behind Alarcon, and Yeah, he might be about to drop even more.
Ben Ford, I think momentarily may have taken the lead of the race. He wasn't able to quite hold on to it. Here he was on the outside into Dunlop curve, but Rosenkrantz strong in defence, the 189. But he is not getting away, and Ben Ford has now taken the lead, and there he is. And that's fairly early on in the straights. And for the first time in his Apex Racing League career, Ben Ford does lead an event. Well, actually, I think he may have led for a few laps actually at Road America by going long in the first stint, but this is properly legitimate. And we could have a 7th different win of the season if it ends like this.
This is what I mean with how impressive he's been. He's just been super just quick in these opening rounds. Rosenkrantz trying to go up the inside. It's a bit of a late move from Rosenkrantz. Goes a bit deep. And Ford make a mistake. And I definitely just jinxed him in the last 5 seconds. I feel horrible for the Brits. This is the thing with this car. He's overheated his tyres. Now he's struggling for grip. And he just tried to get on power early to get the switch back on Rosenkrantz, but just, I guess, the lack of experience probably got to him and just spun the car around. Not too much more to it. He's down in 10th. He most likely will come back through the field. We're going to take a look at a replay. It was a decent and clean move from Rosenkrantz. Just went down the inside, went a bit deep. You can see there, Ford tries to light up the rears, but yeah, just going over that crest into turn 1, just lost the rear of the car and lost 8 positions in because of that.
It's now 9 seconds off the lead as well. He didn't cover off the move into turn 1, which I think may have been a bit of an error. And yeah, just trying to get a little bit too early on the power and spun it round that very tricky turn 1. He's back to where he spent most of the Road America race board, and we wait to see if he can bring himself back into contention with the leaders battling. Then he could well do it. And we have seen several comebacks. I remember Rosenkrantz came from some 25 seconds back at Motegi to a couple of seconds of the race win by the end, as ARA is being overtaken by Tambwe. Tambwe did not set a qualifying time. He's now up 7 places and into 11th.
Yeah, really good start from Tambwe. He's had a cracking start to this race, and that's Pop going very slowly there. I'm not sure if he made a mistake and allowed Ben Ford past, but he's now got to defend 2nd place in the AMS right now from Tambwe, but I don't think there's anything the Romanian can do, as he's just losing more and more time. There's Araya trying to overtake, but just not enough room down the inside there. Oh, excuse me, I sneezed. Anyway, but yeah, that's why I went quiet for a minute. I was trying to hold on to that one. But Tambwe just on a real charge today. He's showing some really impressive pace. That's a bit of an aggressive defence from Pop. And this is going to be an interesting battle. This is going to be 3rd for the amateurs. And, of course, Pop is in the fight for the championship. But with the way Grossetto's going at the moment, up into 4th, yeah, I don't really think it's going to be much of a fight, this race. It's just more about the mistakes that Grossetto's got to keep to a minimum. As we've seen a few times this season, he's rapid, but can just falter a little bit at times under pressure. And, well, he's got Palach all upon his rear wing. Most likely it's going to stay that way for at least the next few laps. As look how desperate Palach is to get past. Into the chicane we go, but not really the best overtaking opportunity on this track. And he's going to have to sit behind again. Doesn't really want to fall into the trap of using his overtake mode, as it would just leave him vulnerable at the end of the race. But I guess if you're going to lose more time behind this car, you kind of got to go for it.
Yeah, he's got to send it into turn 1 one of these times, and if he used his attack mode there, he would be that much closer to turn 1, and he would have been in a overtaking position. But he seems very reluctant to use it at the moment. But you can see the top 3 are getting away. They're losing a second a lap at the moment to the top 3, and Palach knows after a strong podium last time out for him, he's definitely capable of keeping up with those top 3. Ozu Alzugari has got past Carl Winkler. He might get a replay of how he managed to do that, but Alzugari is absolutely lightning fast. He's matching the leaders at the moment, and he's up 9 places from his race start. He's been a little bit up and down so far this season. Has Alzugari has yet to win a race, but was leading with just a corner to go at the very first round of the championship at Spa. Unfortunately lost that round to Fran Garcia, and since then hasn't quite been able to match the pace bar. Maybe a pole position at Aragon that he managed to secure, but during the last few rounds he hasn't quite been a threat. But tonight he looks very, very quick, and yeah, up into that 7th place. I think he'll soon be past championship leader Alarcon by their representative lap times.
Well, as the old saying goes, catching up is one thing, overtaking is another, especially at this track where you'd think it would be easy to overtake, but it really isn't. It's very, very difficult, as there's a lot of high-speed corners here, and the ones that are low speed, like this chicane, there's not really enough room for 2 cars. You kind of have to, if someone's trying to go down the inside there, you kind of have to accept it and just back out of it, otherwise it could end in tears, or just cost you both a huge, huge heap of time as you both try and not crash into each other. Best overtaking opportunity is down into this first corner, as we can see here, Grassetto getting passed by Palic. Finally, we can see this move coming. Palic just squeezing Grassetto a little bit, lights up the rear tyres, but manages to make his way up into 4th place. Been coming for quite a few laps now. Grassetto trying to put a nose in, but I think after we exit this corner, it's going to be the end of that battle, and Palic should just pull away now, as Grassetto has had to use overtake, I think, twice now in this race so far. So not ideal for the Italian, but he is a long way ahead of Tambwe, around 5 seconds ahead already. Actually bigger than that, around 7 or 8 seconds. He's got a big lead, and doesn't have to push too much like he has done in previous weeks. 5th place would be real nice for the Italian.
Yeah, that would be a very nice heap of points for him. Palic, yeah, with 4 seconds to catch to the top 3. Let's see if he can do it. Let's see if Alzagai can get past Alarcon. Alarcon was using his attack actually on the pit straight that last time round in order to defend. So he's quite keen on holding on to this place. But honestly, I'm a bit surprised that he is, because this seems like inevitable that Alzagai will get past. He is so much faster. The difference between their best lap times, Alarcon are 37.0, Alzagai 36.2, 0.8 of a second faster is Alzagai at the moment. And so even if Alarcon holds him off for a lap or 2, it is just a matter of time. Here comes that wide line for Alzagai onto the pit straight. He might well use his overtake this time, but by his steering wheel, it seems like he is not at the moment. Alarcon doesn't have it available. Let's see if Alzagai will send it up the inside. Yes, he will. Getting it stopped, and very easy for Alzagai. Was not pushing it on the brakes whatsoever. And he's up to 6th position, and he'll very soon be past Grassetto, I'm sure.
Really impressive race from him so far. Like you were just mentioning, a bit of a surprise that he is actually being this quick right now, as we've not really seen him show up in the last few rounds. He's not been lucky, really. He's got himself caught up in lap 1 incidents a couple of times and hasn't had the best of pace sometimes, but yeah, he's really come alive at this Nürburgring track, and he could still be on for a podium. Honestly, it's a bit of an ask, but if he can just keep pushing and maybe get the strategy right, as that can be a huge factor with these cars, he could possibly get 3rd or 4th place. Of course, there's going to be a couple mistakes here. But the top 3 are setting really good lap times right now, so maybe a tall order, but I don't know. Anything can happen in these races, and we've seen that throughout this whole season, so hey, I'm rooting for him. Why not?
Race mainly calming down now. We've got the top 17 still in the event. Still just Cesar Giovinacci who has retired on this event. I don't know if we can go, ooh, as Alarcon's made a mistake, and that is going to open up the door for Carl Winkler. Now, even if Winkler does get past this final corner, that's not necessarily the battle over, because then we got this long straight, and Alarcon should probably get a better exit, and now he's using his overtake as well. Winkler tries to get a little bit of side draft. He's got the better line into T1 as well. And he is going to try to stick it on the inside. Alarcon going to squeeze him here. They come very close to making contact. Ford is chasing down these guys just behind. And it looks like Winkler's going to pull that one off. And more attack being used by Alarcon, but to no avail. He's down to 8th. And he's now under pressure for Ford. This is the man who, out of 6 races he's competed in this season, he hasn't finished out the top 5. He might finish only in 9th tonight.
Yeah, something really weird is going on with Alarcon. He's not really showing the pace that we're used to. I don't know if it's just damage that we can't see. And you were just mentioning last lap that Alzagai will get past Grassetto. He caught him 2 seconds in a blink of an eye. That was rapid from the Spanish driver up into 5th place. He's on a mission right now. 4th is definitely on the cards for him. Bit of overtake being used there, of course, just to try and close the gap, but He is on a charge right now, up 11 positions. Very easily could be 12 in absolutely no time. But his Spanish compatriot, Alarcon, really confused. I think he might have damage. There's no really other explanation for it. I don't know. I think you'll agree with me, Sam. Something's definitely not right.
Yeah, maybe just hasn't been able to do quite as much prep for this round of the championship, perhaps. And his qualifying pace wasn't bad, actually, Alarcon. Remember, he qualified up in P4, which is fairly solid. He's not necessarily always on the front row, Alarcon, but yeah, it is an odd one. He might be able to come back, though, into turn one lap after he lost that position. Winkler, I think, was quite deep in the brakes himself and held on. Meanwhile, Edward Pop is under pressure from Lofaro. Lofaro had a bit of a mare on that one. Might be able to get a replay actually of what happened to Lofaro on that one, because he was involved in two separate incidents. One at that corner, turn 2, and then one a couple of corners later. He's 20 seconds off the lead is Lofaro, but with solid pace. He's sort of similar pace to the likes of Winkler and Alarcon.
Yeah, I think he was just caught up. This is what I was talking about at the start. The fact that when you start that low down, you are risking it a lot. And yeah, this incident ahead, he just chose the wrong line really, and picked up a bit of damage and then spun. And this is what I mean. All of our championship contenders in the pros just having an absolutely horrid time at this track. Schnebel, Lofaro, and Alarcon. Alarcon obviously race hasn't gone as badly as the other two, but either way, they've all not really had the start of the race they wanted. And also, I've been paying attention to just everyone's cars, because I felt something looked a bit weird with Alarcon's car. I think he might have slight front wing damage on the left. The front left end plate, I think, is a bit crumpled. I'm not sure. It's very difficult to tell, but I just think it looks a little bit weird compared to the other drivers. It just looks a bit crushed on the inside, so that might explain his bad pace and why he's using overtake so much on the straights. But I don't know, what do you think, Sam?
I think I might see that a little bit as well. If he does have that damage, then he needs to be coming into the pits fairly soon. The Jazz can do the whole race on one set of tyres. They would do if there wasn't a rule that you have to change tyres. So you can pit on lap 1 and just go to the end of the race. And you're not going to lose that much time. I wonder if it'd be better for Alarcon if he does have that little bit of damage for him to pit now and get it repaired and get back out on circuit and set some very quick lap times. We have got a slightly smaller field tonight, so even if he did pit, he wouldn't come out in that much traffic. He'd probably be around Schnabel area. Of course, do watch out for Schnabel. Had to pit on lap 1, and he will go to the end of the race, and he's actually matching the leaders right now, is now Schnabel in the 35s. You compare that to these guys, they're in the mid-36s, so yeah, Lennart Schnabel, 40 seconds off the lead right now, but he will be getting back about 25 of those seconds later on when the pit stops are complete.
Yeah, just a bit of a shame for the Germany. We know how quick he can be, but this is definitely going to be either one of his drop rounds. I don't know.
It would be his drop score at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a weird one. He does get involved in some of these incidents sometimes, and you can't necessarily blame him. It is, just sometimes in the middle of that pack you just get squeezed, and you're trying to go for those aggressive moves because maybe you've had a bit of a poor qualifying, and yeah, just gets caught up. He got caught up in 2 separate incidents on lap 1, and yeah, it's all the way down the order. He's setting quick lap times, like you were saying, and it's just a what-if scenario of had he gotten a clean start, gotten himself maybe up to 5th or something, he'd definitely be a contender for the podium right now, and he would be able to close that gap on Alarcon. But maybe with the damage that Alarcon has, maybe when he comes into the pits, maybe it could be a right battle between those two. I'm predicting that it's going to be a fight between those two of who's going to be the one to finish ahead of the other this race. But a 30-point lead for Schnabel. Bit of a gap, but not impossible with a few rounds to go, but a very, very tall order with the way he is right now. But speaking of which, he has just got himself up into 14th.
And Araya, meanwhile, has got past Pop, so I thought Pop may have passed Araya earlier on, but Araya's been able to get that one back. Here, yeah, Pop made a mistake in sector 2, that's why. Here's our top 3. There's been the occasional sign that one of them's got the momentum, and but then it seems to just neutral it out, and it seems to mainly be about a second between each of them. Meanwhile, Alzagai is now past Paluch. Paluch realised that he is not as fast as Alzagai tonight, so he put up 0 fights against the Spaniard. He now is up to 14th place from 16th on the grid. But Rosenkrantz did just do the fastest lap of the race. That was real nice from him. About 3.5 tenths to a second faster than Aberdeen. He extends his lead now to 2 seconds. So Zana 1 second behind Aberdeen. But yeah, each lap a different driver is faster, as here comes Ford finally making the move on Alicon, and a very similar start to how Winkler did it earlier on. And the British driver is up into 8th position.
Yeah, it's just Alarcon's day just getting worse and worse, and Lafaro is making his way up the grid as well. I don't think Lafaro's coming into the pits yet. I don't believe. No, he hasn't. So he could very much still be in play. He is a little bit far back from the guys ahead, around 7 seconds. But I mean, with the way that Alarcon's pace is going right now, Lafaro is the 2nd quickest man on the track. So this could be quite close actually between Schnebel, Lafaro and Alarcon. When they all make their pit stops, it could be between all 3 of the championship contenders, which that's going to be quite a story at the end of this race.
Yeah, that'd be very fun. I don't think we can rule out Aberdeen and well, maybe Aberdeen and Paluch and Winkler, but certainly Aberdeen and Rosenkrantz with the race that those two are having. They would be cutting down the championship significantly. Rosenkrantz going into this round was 131 points back. But I think if it ended like this, he'd be cutting that by about 50 points. So he'd be making good headway into that gap. It's a 12-round championship, this. Hang on, is it 12 rounds or is it 11 rounds?
I think it's 11.
Yeah, it's 11 rounds. So we've got a few more rounds after this one. We've got 3 more rounds after this. So, yeah. Basically, if Rosenkrantz wins tonight and he wins the next 3 races, he could still win the title as well. So
it's not impossible for Rosenkrantz. Definitely is not. But it's just not been a good season really, apart from last round and this round at the moment.
Oh, that was a big slide. That was a huge slide for. Well, that was Aberdeen.
That was. This is the thing. You have to have amazing car control with this car, because those snaps can happen very easily and out of nowhere. And it seems like a lot of drivers have been struggling with that. We saw it, of course, a lot in qualifying, where we had 5 drivers making similar kind of mistakes. Schnebel, of course, ruined his qualifying lap because of it. You just struggle to get on power with this car, and that's one of the reasons why so many people just don't race it, because it is a tough beast to tame. But once you do get it tamed, it's an absolute joy to drive. And Rosenkrantz is one of those people, clearly. He's having the time of his life, 2.5 seconds now ahead of Aberdeen, as Aberdeen's just struggling. Maybe for tyre wear. We are 13 laps in, but he's just, over the last few laps, he's just been getting slower and slower.
Oh, Tampway has had a mistake. He was going well.
He's out of the race.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of damage, isn't it? So he'll have to take a tow back. That will drop him to 16th place behind Cabral. Vela is the only other driver who's taken a tow so far, and has continued on. Giovinacci out of the race. It was just a little tap on the curb, and then you can see, yeah, it goes into the wall. And the rear suspension on this car is extremely fragile. It's far more fragile than every other car on iRacing.
Genuinely, it is made of paper or something. It is really. It's kind of similar to what the prototype cars have been dealing with this season, where you tap the rear of the cars and the rear wing just pops off. It's similar to that. You tap the rear tires on this and it just comes off. I do think it definitely needs something fixed for this thing. It's a bit concerning. We've seen it a few times. I think it was at Silverstone. Who was it at Silverstone that had a slight tab, wheel-to-wheel tab, and their suspension popped off? I can't remember who it was. Oh, I'm trying to think who it was now.
The one I think of is Stroll Vettel at Malaysia 2017 when on the cool down lap, they collide and Vettel's car explodes. And sometimes rear suspensions in single seats can be super strong. I think back to, and again, I'm getting really nerdy here, Barrichello Schumacher, Barrichello Alonso, sorry, back in 2010 Spa, and Barrichello smashes into Alonso. at about 100 miles an hour difference. And Alonso's car has 0 damage on it afterwards. Meanwhile, Backhouse is done, and then you have instances like Vettel Stroll where there's just a plucking of the tyre and the whole suspension collapses. So yeah, it varies a lot in real life. On the sim, it does seem to be more on the delicate side of things. 3.2 seconds now. Fastest up the race just being delivered by Giuseppe Lofari down in 10th position. He's demonstrating his pace now. Didn't set a qualifying time. Obviously had incidents in the early stages. He's 21 seconds off the lead, but don't rule him out of a top 6. I think that top 3 looked very secure, and then I'd say the second group is going to be Alzagari, Paluch, and probably Schnabel as well once all the pit stops are done. And then I think we've got this next group of Grassetto, Winkler, Ford, Alarcon, and Lofari all battling for the bottom half of the top 10.
Yeah, in my head, it's kind of just like, oh, what if these guys hadn't had not a very good start? It would have been so nice, since they're setting incredible lap times. Could also be the fact that they're in fresh air and they just have the time and the motivation to set those quickest lap times. I mean, as a racer myself, it's really annoying because sometimes when you have a bad start, the best drives of your career can be when you have a bad start. I'm thinking to Nürburgring, the last round we did about a week ago now. I was setting faster lap times than the leaders, but because I was like 20 seconds off, the best I could do was third, and it just gives you that extra motivation to just put your foot down and absolutely get on a drive. And that's what we're seeing from the likes of Lafaro and Schnabel. They're having the drives of their lives, and well, Grassetto and co at the moment just struggling for pace a little bit, as Winkler now having a bit of an underdog race actually. He's come through, it didn't have a great start, but has made overtakes on the likes of Alarcon, Ford, Winkler. He is Winkler, what am I talking about? He's about to make an overtake on Grassetto, and Grassetto not having the best pace at the moment. It's just looks a bit vulnerable. All race has the Italian, but still way ahead of his amateur rivals, and I don't think he will be complaining too much. He's still gaining in the championship. But just going back to the rear suspension conversation, the one I think of actually is Vettel 2012 at Brazil.
Sure, yeah, where he gets absolutely demolished by...
How? I don't know how his rear suspension survived that.
Senna, wasn't it? You hit him. Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, particularly the angle it was. You'd expect from the angle that it was, that would take it off. But yeah, he was alright. Just a little bit of floor damage. Well, I say a little bit of floor damage, a lot of floor damage.
Yeah, I remember watching that race live. I was cheering for Alonso, pain, but yeah, I don't know how he came through the field and still managed to win the championship that day, but. You know, those are the kind of championship drives that make a champion, and he thoroughly deserved it. And this is going to be our first proper pit stop that we've seen out of the top 10 so far. Carl Winkler thinking it's best to get some clean air, and he is the first man who comes in for a pit stop proper, unlike the likes of Schnabel. And speaking of, going to be interesting to see where Schnabel comes out, or actually, you know, in respective to Winkler. I think he'll be fairly close, but I don't think he'll overtake him.
I think Schnabel's just going to be a few seconds back. I think maybe like 5 seconds back, but I think with the pace to catch up by the end of the race. Here we go. Winkler is transiting down the pit lane at the moment. There he is. And it's a bit less than 5 seconds, I think.
He's on cold tyres.
Oh, 4.9 seconds. I'm really good at this job, aren't I? Dorian Arroyo in 15th position has had a spin. So Winkler then, he lost... I'm trying to figure out the gaps now.
25-ish.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Around 25 seconds to the guys he was battling with. But of course, he is on cold tyres, so we'll just have to watch out for how many seconds he does lose. As he's struggling a little bit there. Just can't seem to get the car rotated. As Schnabel is gaining on him, it's only down to about 3 seconds now. Yeah,
I think it's about 2 seconds that you lose on the first couple of laps with those cold tyres. He lost half a second through sector 2. There's 5 sectors on this lap, and sector 2 is the shortest one, so that is quite a lot of time to Hemorrhage, meanwhile, Schnabel's just set his personal best lap of the race that previous time around and a personal best sector 1 this time. Here comes Grosseto. He wants to cover off Winkler. You can see he has been using the boost, and he should be able to cover this one off, but it will be about how strong his outlap is, trying to fend off the warm tyres of Winkler.
Yeah, I can't speak. Get it out. Come on. I'm really surprised, actually, how early everyone is coming in as well. I have to mention that. It's only lap 18. We're not even halfway through, really. We're about there, but just under halfway through, and people are already coming in. And I was talking about this earlier on. They might be struggling for tyre wear here, honestly. I'm not sure how hot the track temperature is, but... well, there you go, thank you. Not actually that hot. It's pretty much perfect, actually, in iRacing terms. So the track temperature doesn't really have anything to do with it today. It might just be... a lot of these slow speed corners could be damaging their rear tyres. I'm not sure, but they're definitely struggling out there. But Grosseto now comes out ahead of Winkler by quite a long way. He is going to lose time on this lap, of course, but maybe the overcut is the way to go. I'm definitely thinking that now, as Schnabel now is in the fight with these two. And, of course, Alarcon and Ford and LaFaro will be gaining on them as well. But... yeah, that midfield battle is really going to heat up at the end of this race, but really, really poor outlap from Winkler there.
Yeah, he's now 1.2 seconds behind Grosseto. He did lose a little bit on his in-lap as well to Grosseto, and he's going to be very vulnerable if Ford decides to come into the pits, albeit thankfully for him, Ford chooses not to. Shout out, by the way, to Apex Racing Academy, the title sponsor for this series, and Apex Racing Academy are actually doing their first ever Black Friday sale, and you can get 40% discount on an annual Apex Racing Academy Silver subscription, as Grosseto has spun. And the man who made a couple of mistakes last time out at Road America, which denied him a strong result, well, this could well deny him a strong result as well. Using the attack mode, he was pushing with Grosseto, and on those fresh, cold tyres, he's made a crucial mistake. It's not really over the curve, it's before he's reached the curve, and, well, if anything, that was quite a stylish spin there. No?
I'm not sure if you remember... well, no, never mind, you definitely won't. This was like a year ago, never mind. But when we were fighting for the championship, me and Grosseto, last year, at this exact track, he made that mistake on the last lap, and I don't think you would have remembered it.
No, I think I do remember it, because I think in the B final he came from nowhere to get into the A final, and then I was like really bigging him up, and I think he went from like last in the A final to like 6th, and was going to gain back points, and then yeah, I cursed it. Well, I didn't curse him. I was sort of prepared for it, because he was on red hot form for about half an hour of that meeting, and then he undid it all with that last lap spin.
I think that was also the round that won me the championship, because I think it was Olsen and Schnabel, actually, or it was one of the Alcantech cars who collided, and I ended up finishing second overall in the end, which gave me a huge chunk of points, and I got fastest lap on the last lap as well, so I was quicker than the leader, and this round was definitely the round that won me the championship, and as previously mentioned, Grosseto made a mistake, and yeah, unfortunately that really cost him, as we only finished 6 points apart in the end, so very, very close between us, and we just about won. Out comes Palic as well back onto the track. He's quite a long way ahead of Winkler, Schnabel and Grosseto, and I'm now very much thinking the overcut is the way to go. You're just seeing people lose more and more time the earlier they come in, apart from Schnabel, who came in pretty much on the first lap, who's just put some really, really good laps down, as now Winkler's made a mistake. Can Schnabel get the cutback? It'd be a bit of an unorthodox place overtake, but just gets on the curb, and that's nowhere to go, unfortunately, and just has to sit behind the German again. The Germans at the moment seem to be going okay in this race. Of course, Rosenkrantz is leading. Schnabel not having the best time, but is making a comeback. Winkler having an okay race, bit of an underdog at the moment. And Palic, of course, has just stormed ahead of these guys, and yeah, the overcut really working for him, and whoever goes the longest in this race I think is going to benefit the most, which is probably why we're seeing the likes of Alarcon and LaFaro not come into the pits yet, as they might have some information that we don't, and just think that it's going to benefit them, as Ford now does come into the pits on lap 21. We are now just over halfway through, And this is going to be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Palic and Winkler.
Yes, he was about a second behind, well, half a second behind Winkler when Winkler made his pit stop, so this will be a good test. He did come into the pits 29 seconds clear of Winkler, so if that's to be believed, he should be about 3 seconds ahead. Now, obviously, he will have to do a slow outlap, but here he comes, and he is going to be, well, he's ahead of Palic as well. So did Palic have... Did Palic make a mistake on that lap? No, I think he just was...
I just think the overcut is that good.
Yeah, it seems like he did just clear him with the overcut. So now Palic has got to respond immediately and get back past on this lap.
Yeah, I'm now a 100% believer that the overcut is the way to go. And I think tyre wear is sort of playing a factor in today's race. We haven't really seen it too much over the course of the season. I could also be just chatting out of my backside. These drivers know a lot more than I do about this car, but yeah, especially at the top, we could see the likes of Aberdeen and Cessna trying to gain a bit of time. And speaking of which, in comes our leader, Rosenkrantz, gambling now as Aberdeen takes the lead of the race for the first time today. And let's see what Chris Rosenkrantz can do on a fresh set of rubber. But Aberdeen and Cessna now have to go as long as possible to try and gain as much time on the Germans who have any chance of beating them today.
Really nice lap there for Aberdeen, 34.93 fastest lap of the race. Cezanne was only 100th of a second slower. They've got about 3 seconds to gain, but we've seen the outlap can lose you 3 seconds or so. That certainly seems to be the case with Palic. So they could be in line. Ford is marginally ahead of Palic at the moment, but I think we might have a move as Edward Pop comes into the pits. Ford having to go defensive. Palic has to get past on this lap whilst Ford's tyres are still cold, because every corner that passes, their difference does diminish just a bit. Here comes Palic trying to get the cutback. He gets a bit in the turbulent air. That will cost him when it comes to understeer. And again, just trying to take a slightly alternative line. But now around this part of the circuit, it's very tricky to overtake. And by the time that they get back onto the back straight, it might be that Ford has enough grip to repel any attack. Maybe into Dunlop curve could be the chance for Palic, but through this S section, he has lost a fair amount of time as the German.
Just absolutely nowhere that he can go, and this is what I mean earlier about the fact that it is a lot more difficult to overtake at this track than you'd think. I mean, obviously in GT cars, it's GT cars, you can overtake basically whenever you want. But in these open wheel Formula cars, we've seen it a couple of years ago when we came here for Formula 1 during 2020, I believe it was. Just weren't that many overtakes, to be honest. I don't really remember much from that race, actually. I don't know if you do, Sam, but...
Long safety car. There was a car on the side of the circuit. They pulled a safety car rather than a virtual safety car for some reason, and it took about 15 minutes for them to sort it out, as here comes Schnabel. He's going to go past Winkler. This one has been coming for a little while. Winkler's done well to hold him off as long as he has. But now Schnabel is up to 10th position. But yeah, the Eiffel Grand Prix, someone went off at like the first S section, and they pulled a safety car for entertainment purposes. And yeah, they had like a 15-minute safety car period because everyone was unlapping themselves, if I recall correctly.
Oh, you seem to know a lot more about these things.
I have no life.
I mean, I remember a lot of Formula 1 races as well, but I don't remember the boring ones. You seem to remember both, which is a skill that I don't have. I really don't remember anything from the IFL Grand Prix. I think it was...
Well, Hulkenberg subbed in as well and finished 8th, I think.
Was it the only race Albon got a podium at?
No, that was Bahrain 2020.
Sure. I remember there was someone random on the podium, and it was either Ricciardo
because
or
Bottas retired, didn't he? With a mechanical issue after bottling it earlier in the race. Yeah, well, we're going to have to Google it now, aren't we? Aberdeen's into the pits, and Cezanne. Why didn't Cezanne do an extra lap? If Cezanne had done an extra lap, he could have got ahead of Aberdeen on track because the overcut is that powerful. So I'm surprised he didn't do that. Albeit, I think he may have just made a mistake, actually, Cezanne, on that previous lap because he lost quite a bit of time. Albeit, oh no, as Aberdeen messed up his pit stop. I think he's made a sped on pit entry,
Oh,
and
he
this is going to send
has.
Aberdeen well outside the top
Oh,
10. What a
no.
mistake from our second place man.
Oh, that's such a shame. And I think he's only gotten one podium in this entire season, and he definitely deserved one today. But just
Oh, and
such
Cezanne's
an
ahead of
innocent.
Rosenkrantz as well. And
He-
Aberdeen
he
would have been
is.
well clear. Aberdeen would have been in the lead of this race.
Yeah, well clear. And I don't know. Oh, that's such a shame. Oh, that's way too fast. Yeah, that's way too fast. He will be kicking himself. He could have definitely won this race. Oh, he's going to be so disappointed in himself. He could have such a good opportunity, but I mean, we've still got Cezanne to try and put some pressure on Rosenkrantz. You can see he's just struggling there on pit exit. Cezanne is just about staying ahead of Rosenkrantz, but it's still on those cold tyres. And Cezanne had a pretty good in-lap, actually, compared to some of the other drivers we've seen today. And Cezanne, if he can keep track position, like I've said many times in this race, it's not easy around here at all. It's turn one, basically, and I guess this final chicane, but that's about it. It's really difficult. And of course, we've still got Alzagari, Alarcon, and Lafaro still yet to pit. They could still be in the fight with a podium, considering the fact that Aberdeen has just made that mistake. I did say the podium was still on for some of these drivers, and well, just an innocent pit stop error from the Australian has cost him dearly. Rosenkrantz still refusing to use the overtake. I believe Cessna is going to want to defend this one to his heart's content. Chooses the inside line, and I believe that's the way to go, as he just forces Rosenkrantz wide and he keeps it. This could be very interesting all the way to the end of the race. Cezanne didn't have the best start, but managed to keep pace with the leader as the race went on. And, well, he's got track position, and that's all that matters at this track. And I did look up, by the way, who got the podium.
It was Ricciardo.
It was Ricciardo.
Literally, as I saw Aberdeen mess up his pit stop, I was thinking, Australians at the circuits. Ricciardo! So,
I just looked up, and that actually, the same time as Aberdeen made that mistake, I heard you screaming and was like, oh, Ricciardo, okay. Never mind, guess I'll save that for later. But yeah, I could have sworn it was Albon, but never mind. I'm completely wrong. It might be Mugello then that he got his first podium.
oh, I think you're right, yeah. And then he got another one at Bahrain. But no, you're right, it
Yeah.
was Mugello. Maybe he overtook Ricciardo. I think Ricciardo had awful pace that day and was like running third early on and ended up at 8 out of like 10 drivers who finished. Because they all realised that was a dull race. That is one of the most overrated races I remember, actually.
What, Mugello, yeah.
Yeah, because there are only 11 cars for 90% of the race, and shocker, 11 cars on the track is dull as anything. So, yeah, that is very much odd history, how people remember that one positively. Here's Rosenkrantz. Another attempt on Cezanne. You'll go all the way to the pit wall again. There's no way up there. Chris? Oh, there is. Here he goes. Can he get it stopped? There's going to be contact between the two of them. What's a move? Well, I think the stewards may need to have a look at it. But Rosenkrantz was adamant he was going on the inside there. He didn't care if there was a gap. But Cezanne opened it up just a tiny bit. And the Sim2 Esports driver took it.
I'm really surprised at that, not going to lie. I could kind of see Rosenkrantz was desperate to go for it. And I don't think there will be any stewards inquiry about that. They both stayed on the track. They both gave each other room just. But he made it through. I don't think there's too much Cessna can complain about that. He didn't hug the inside line enough and just allowed Rosenkrantz through. And it was a very aggressive move. But I just think Cezanne could have done a bit better. And I guess had he gone a bit further to the right, he would have just... Rosenkrantz probably would have just gotten the cut back on him, as you're really pinching yourself on the inside there, so not really the ideal line. But yeah, I think Cessna could have defended that one a little bit better, as Rosenkrantz is using his overtake now to just get ahead, as Alarcon has come out 5 seconds ahead of Ford, by the way. We forgot to mention that. Alzagari now comes into the pits as well. Lafaro might come into the pits this lap. I'm not 100% sure. No, he's still staying out, so Lafaro will be the man to go the longest in this race. He might go all the way until lap 29 and just do a 10-lap shootout until the end. He did just set the fastest lap of the race, 34.4 on that last lap. He's got some amazing pace. Al-Zagari comes out in 4th place. He's gained a huge amount of time and is only... He nearly got ahead of Rosenkrantz there.
I mean, he's with the leaders.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 4th position before, but he's gained a lot of time, hasn't he? Well, he was 4th position before behind Aberdeen. Now he's 3rd position. But he could win this race as a guy from 16th on the grid. He really must have had really good pace in those latter stages. Lofari just set the fastest lap of the race as well, by the way. When Lofari comes into the pits, he's going to be ahead of Ford and Schnabel and Palach, and only just behind Alacon. And of course, Alacon's having to deal with the cold tyres himself at the moment, so Lofari might be able to get 4th position out of this race. There is Alacon, who's jumped Ford, Schnabel, Palach and Winkler at the pit stops, and Grassetto, albeit Grassetto spun, which very much helped on in that course. So Schnabel's having a little bit of a frustrating time, by the way. Schnabel has got past Palach, but he's still stuck behind Ford. And so our championship leaders, Alacon, who came into the town 30 points ahead of Schnabel, he might be able to beat Schnabel, despite the fact that Schnabel's clearly the faster driver, at least in race pace today, but he needs to pass Ford soon in order to have a go at the Spaniard.
I just think that lap 1 is going to come back to bite Schnabel over these next few rounds. He of course can have a great end to the season, but Alarcon has had damage most of this race. I can definitely confirm that now. His front wing no longer looks strange. He definitely had some kind of front wing damage from lap 1. So let's see what kind of pace Alarcon can put down now over these next few laps and see if the front wing was hindering him that much. Rosenkrantz has just set the fastest lap as well with a 34.4. Lafaro still going strong as well. He's definitely going to be a contender at the end of this race. He was only a 10th off of Rosenkrantz on 30-lap-old tyres. He's got some mega pace. And this is what I mean. Had he done just a half-decent qualifying lap, he could be in contention for this race. Same with Al-Zagari, same with Alarcon and Schnabel. We could have had a big battle for the lead here, but just some drivers not really getting that one-shot qualifying to the T and just making a couple mistakes. It is a very difficult track, and of course these drivers are much better than I could ever do in this car, but yeah, just been a bit robbed of a good wheel-to-wheel battle at the end of this race. Still going to get a good one though for the podium positions. Al-Zagari and Cessna probably will go at it towards the end of this race, but I think Rosenkrantz has a comfortable gap at the moment, and well, Lafaro still choosing to stay out on those tyres. Let's see what kind of lap time he does as he crosses the line. And it's a 34.6. He's still pretty much the second fastest man on track.
Yeah, he is. If he goes one lap longer, by the end of this lap, he might be clear of Alacon. He's 24 seconds ahead of Alacon. He needs 25 seconds to stay ahead of Alacon. However, he wants another 2 seconds at least on top of that in order to hold on cold tyres when he comes out the pit. So he probably needs another like 5 laps in order to get the difference, if the gap remains as it is, because at the moment he's about half a second a lap faster than Alacon. So this could be very good for Lofai. About half an hour ago, I did start mentioning about the Apex Racing Academy Black Friday sale, by the way, and to confirm that, you get a 40% discount on an annual Apex Racing Academy subscription. So that means that for as little as £50, you can get setups and track guides from some of the best drivers on iRacing for an entire year. And if you go to apexracingac.com, choose the 1-year silver subscription, you enter the code ARA SAVE 23. That is at apexracingac.com. Once again, the code ARA SAVE 23. All one word.
Just want to mention as well, on that last lap, Lafaro was actually quicker than Rosenkrantz. And honestly, if the rule about pitting once wasn't a thing, Lafaro could just go to the end and just win this race. But whether he'd do that and just say, I won on track or not, and we'll just firm the penalty. Not sure if he'll just get straight up disqualified. But
it'd be a shallow victory, seeing that everyone else would have pitted as well if they had the choice. So I think Lofai would be pulling some strings in order to convince us on that.
I mean, it would be very, very impressive nonetheless. But yeah, he's setting some very, very good lap times right now, and he is just gaining a lot of time on a Larkon. And I'm not sure if it's just those fresher, colder tyres just aren't as good. That's what I'm seeing from most of the drivers right now. They're not as quick as they used to be. As I say that, on the last lap, Schnebel and Ben Ford both just set their fastest laps. I think Schnebel was actually a little bit off his fastest, but Ford definitely just set his fastest at 34.6, 2 tenths faster than Rosenkrantz. Seeing a very mixed up grid in terms of pace. And again, I think Ford was one of those drivers to make a mistake in the early parts of the race. Had he not, we could have a good fight for the lead. It's such a shame. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Rosenkrantz has not really put a foot wrong so far, and you'd have to say he's the favourite at the moment.
Yeah, the only two guys who haven't really made mistakes are Rosenkrantz and Cezanne. Lefari messed up qualifying, Azugai messed up qualifying, Alicon just hasn't had the pace, Ford spun in the early stages, Schnabel messed up qualifying and needs to take repairs. Palich and Winkler haven't really been there on pace, and then of course you go back to Aberdeen in a distant 11th, a very lonely 11th, who is casually matching the leaders for pace right now. He would have been in the lead by a couple of seconds after his pit stop, but he sped on pit entry and got a 40-second hold for that one. I mean, we can pretty much compare where Grosseto would be. So he's, as apologies, Aberdeen would be. He's currently 40 seconds off the lead, like 40.2 seconds off the lead right now is Aberdeen. No, 50 seconds off the lead, but he's only 38.8 seconds behind Rosenkrantz. So if it weren't for the penalty, he'd be 1.2 seconds ahead of Rosenkrantz.
Yeah, that's kind of summed up Aberdeen's race. He could have been the favourite today, but yeah, sometimes these things just happened, and you can definitely count the fact that he will be kicking himself. This has been his best chance at winning all season, and yeah, unfortunately just went way too fast in the pit lane. I mean, he broke very, very late. I know these cars have amazing brakes, but even I can tell that was a bit too late coming into pit entry, and yeah, just a bit unfortunate for the Australian. I'm sure he will pick up the pace and possibly fight for another win in the next few rounds, but yeah, just another one slips away. And Grosseto as well, being another driver that's just let a couple positions just slip away from him. Cezanne. Yeah, he's lost about 5 seconds there. It's
only Rosenkrantz left. He hasn't made a mistake in that case. So he's now behind Alzagai, but clearly it wasn't too bad for Cezanne. He's not going to get that position back from Alzagai, and it might leave him vulnerable from Lofaro later on in the race. Lofaro's still going to come out of the pits behind Cezanne, but he might be catchable, and it's that curb again.
Oh, dear. He's a lucky man that the new gravel physics are like that. Otherwise, he probably would have gone straight into the wall at some point. He is a very, very lucky boy there, just about to stay in the race. We saw that from, I believe it was Tambwe, who made that mistake as well, who just, his rear tire just popped off the car. But yeah, unfortunate there for the Italian. He's using his overtake probably to just try and gain back as much time as he can. But we've got a little bit of an interesting scene here. We've got Ford catching very rapidly to a Larkon ahead, and then Schnebel also catching Ford. So by the end of this race, we could have a very, very interesting battle for 5th place. As we've mentioned before, Larkon has not finished outside the top 5 yet, but today could be that first time. But Ford is a little bit far back, but I mean, anything can happen in these final 8 or so laps. And Lofaro, again, setting the fastest lap of the race, a 34.3 on that last lap. And do you know what? He might go until the last lap, which is not a bad idea.
Yeah, he may well pit on the penultimate lap of the race. Palich is apologies, not Palich. So Lofaro's now 27 seconds clear of Alicon. So even if he pits now, Lofaro, he would definitely come out ahead, and he could afford to have a couple of iffy laps on cold tyres. I say 27 seconds, 26.34 at the moment, and he has gone round for another lap. So yeah, good for him. By the way, there has been a move for Dean Vella. He's got past Dorian Roy up into 15th place. That's quite big for Vella, actually. He's going for the Amateur Championship. And of course, Fabio Grosseto will be extending his championship lead if it ends like this. Him and Vella were alongside in the championship going into this round. Cabral only a few points back, but Vela picking up that extra point by passing Arroyo. That could be significant come the end of the season.
And this is what happened to Vela at the start, who just didn't really seem to have it. And oh, Sam, what do you think of this?
Well, unfortunately, just like you, I can see this one, so I can see what you're trying to do there, and I appreciate the effort. I'm watching it back on the YouTube stream, but all our viewers just saw that one anyway. And yeah, it was contact, I think, with Schnabel, I believe, and that is what sent Vela around. Too much damage and needed to tow back to the pits there. And then, oh, sorry, we've got live pictures of Ford versus Schnabel. This is as close as Schnabel's come. This would be a super risky move through the Schumacher S. There was no chance for him there. Are either of them using the overtake? Yes, they are. But Schnabel's turned it off now. I thought he'd use it for the next straight, but he's turned it off for some reason, and that's not going to enable him to get past. All these drivers are so reluctant to use the overtake. I'm very surprised, Dan. That's certainly going to be one of my questions later on when one of these guys comes for a chat.
I think it's just the fact that they know at the end of the race it's going to come back to bite them. There's, you know, on that last lap it will lose you about a second and a half if you don't use it.
But
and
Schnabel's lost like 5 seconds sat behind Ford. Like if he was more aggressive on it. I mean, here he goes. He can't use it now, obviously, but he's going to have a good chance into T1.
Yeah, he's going to have to go for an impressive dive bomb around the outside or try and get a cutback on Ford. Who, of course, Ford was made a mistake in this first corner trying to get a cutback on Rosenkrantz and lost out, unfortunately, there. He was one of the drivers who could have won this race, but just has not been quite on it today, as Schnabel just trying to find any kind of gap, but just it isn't there at the moment. And as well, Palach is just eyeing it up in the background. If these two make contact, he's just going to swoop on past and yeah, just pick up the pieces. But yeah, the fact that both me and you couldn't see the replay was a bit of a shame, and you knew exactly what I was trying to do. I'm still not 100% sure what causes it. I really don't, but yeah, we'll just have to wave a magic wand someday and hope that something like that's
Oh no!
Oh, he's out of the race
Fabio.
again. This is huge for the championship.
Oh, well, that's the championship lead gone. I think Vela will now lead the championship because Grosseto. Yeah, he's going to keep on going. I mean, is it faster to pit or to continue like this? I think it would be faster to pit, but he's got some impressive pace. He's not going to be very good on the left-handers. He's managing it. That's not what you want to see coming up the Schumacher S's. But yeah, he'll get back to the pits. He's going to finish, though, behind Arai. He'll beat Vela, actually, still. So Grosseto will still be championship leader, but I think only by 1 point over Vela. And Cabral will be down to about 3 points. The top 3 in the championship are going to be separated by even less than they were before.
Oh, and this is what we've just been talking about with Grosseto. The fact that he is rapid, we know that. He has the pace, but just across the whole of this season, he's made mistake after mistake after mistake, and it's the same thing that happened in F3 when I battled with him. He just made those mistakes, and it is a real shame, and that's the second big mistake he's made tonight, but of course this being quite a bit bigger than the one he did before. He's completely missing the front right side of his car, but I think he will get a fast repair, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't know if he would use it at the pit stop. Hello, this is Cabral trying to get past Pop for the lead of the amateurs today. Been sort of going Grosseto's way until now, as Pop trying to go around the outside. He gets very loose, but just manages to hold on to it. And that's promoted Cabral up into the lead of the amateurs into 11th. But still quite a long way off the rest of the field, as Grosseto does indeed use his fast repair and comes out a lap down and still ahead of Vea by quite a bit. Still, he will comfortably get 14th place, but that gap at the top could have been so much more for Grosseto, but yeah, just today really not meant to be. And can we just mention that Lafaro still hasn't pitted? He has no intention.
Just at the fast lap of the race as well.
He's going for it. I promise you, he's either pitting on white flag or just going to the end and just saying, I don't care, I win. I don't know what he's trying to do, but yeah, I was talking about tyre wear earlier on, and well, it turns out I was chatting out my backside, and but it doesn't seem to be affecting the Italian at all. He's going quicker than everyone else on 36 lap old tyres.
It's a good tactic to pit on the penultimate lap because then you get less negatives from the cold tyres, because the first lap obviously is the worst on the cold tyres, but lap 2 and 3 are still, you're going to be losing time on the cold tyres. He's only got to suffer that first lap. He's now 28.1 seconds clear of Alicon, so he'll come out of the pits 3 seconds ahead of Alicon, and will only lose probably 2 seconds on his out lap, probably not even that, probably more like a second to a second and a half. So he should be fine as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. He's not going to beat Cesana because that would require him being another 8 seconds up the road realistically. They can see, maybe not 8 seconds, but at least another 5 seconds. And that is not going to happen. And these guys aren't a whole lot off the pace. Alzagoi is starting to struggle a little bit, and he is being caught up by Cesana, who has had some rapid pace as this event has gone on. And the Epoch Motorsports driver cutting the gap down by half a second on the previous lap, another 7/10 on that lap, and we are getting into the territory now where the drivers will start launching on their boost. It'll probably be with about a lap and a half to go when they press that button for the final time and use whatever they've got spare.
Yeah, it's weird since we've been boasting about Alzagori having amazing pace this whole race. Of course, he's had just an extraordinary comeback this whole race and had a really, really good pit stop, but this second stint, he's just not really had it. He's about a second off what Lafaro is doing every single lap. That last lap, by the way, Lafaro did a 33.9. It wasn't actually the fastest lap. That went to Lee Aberdeen, who just about beat him by half a tenth there. That was a really, really good lap by the Australian, but of course, it's in the grand scheme of things not really going to mean anything. Unfortunately, of course, because everyone's going to have a fastest lap attempt on the last lap with that overtake. So, yeah, just a bit of a shame for Aberdeen. He's had amazing pace, but just made one little error and it all went downhill from there. As Alzagari is using a bit of boost to try and stay ahead of Cesana. Not sure if he's going to just... This is it for him. I'm not sure if he's just going to go all the way till the end.
Nah, he can go to the end,
Yeah, or he might just be trying to play it tactically, just try and get away from him, and yeah, just see what he can do. And yeah, Lafaro is going to pit on white flag, otherwise, well, he'll just get disqualified, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you can't pit on the last lap. I think that's in the rules. And
well, then he will get disqualified.
He will get disqualified. So he needs to pit on this lap. Otherwise, he will get a sizable penalty. There is Alzagoi. He is actually deploying it. So they get 200 seconds, and of course... Oh, no, sorry, I can't do maths. Of course they can deploy it with 2 laps to go. You're absolutely right, Anne. Sorry for saying that. He couldn't do that. Because, yeah, of course, it's 90 seconds per lap, or 94 seconds per lap. So, yeah, 2 laps worth is taking you up to about 190 seconds. And they have 200 seconds worth of overtake if they don't use it. So maybe that gap has been coming down between Alzagoi and Cesana because Cesana has been using the boost, and maybe that has flattered him a little bit. So the gap to Alicon, 29 seconds. This should be easy for Lafaro. He doesn't really need to push this at all. He'll come out 4 seconds behind Cesana and 4 seconds ahead of Alicon. Here he comes into the pits. Just make sure he gets everything right. And the man who was pointing the wrong way twice on lap 1 was about 20 seconds off the lead before even half a lap was completed. Will pit on this penultimate lap, and he should come out in a comfortable 4th place.
Yeah, and just remember, if something does end up happening to Alzagari and Cesana, which isn't entirely out of the question, he could still get 4th or 3rd.
Oh, something has happened to Cesana.
Not by much. I think he's still going to be fine. Yeah, Lafaro is going to come out a few seconds behind, but I just think Cesana has only just activated his boost, so didn't have that much left in him. He's probably used it a bit over the course of this race, but Alzagari is still going strong with that boost. I think he's still got it activated. Yeah, he does. He's been saving it up all the way until the end, and well, he's been losing a bunch of time, but now it's just shot away from Cesana and Lafaro behind. But I mean, Lafaro, my God.
Have you seen Aberdeen's timing board? He's just set the fastest
Oh my
first,
God.
second, third, and fourth sectors. He's set the fastest lap of the race, no surprise, 32.96. He is now 38.6 seconds off the lead. He had a 40-second penalty earlier on. He would have probably won this race, but well, I say he would have probably. We don't know. Like, he would have had to battle with Rosenkrantz. That may have lost him time. He's been in clean air since. Rosenkrantz maybe hasn't been pushing 100%. Maybe the pressure's been off Aberdeen. But no doubt he had a good chance. Rosenkrantz just briefly glitching out, but he's all right. And the man who could not even get podiums, he had one podium out of the first 6 races. But the German driver of Chris Rosenkrantz for Simsa Esports, he is really going to bring himself into championship contention. And with back-to-back wins, is Chris Rosenkrantz taking the victory at his home circuit at the Nürburgring. Jose Alzagai from 16th on the grid is going to finish in 2nd position for his best results in several rounds. Marco Zuzana will be kicking himself in 3rd. Giuseppe Lofaro with a strong 4th. Marcos Alicon will be one of the most delighted drivers. He only just beats Ford and Schnabel. Schnabel will be frustrated as anything. Poor qualifying, puts him in the pack. He had an incident and then spent the entire second half of the race stuck behind Ben Ford. Palach and Winkler will complete a fairly disappointing day for Core Sim Racing. They've lost some important points. And Lee Aberdeen will perhaps be the most devastated of all the drivers. 38 seconds off the lead in the end after a 40-second penalty in the race. And this man, Cesar Cabral, well, he's not going to be leading the championship after this round. I think he's still going to be in 3rd place, but he's really going to cut the gap down nicely. It'll be Edward Pop will be the amateur championship leader after this round, but the Brazilian has put in another very good shift, and this will be his first amateur race victory of the season as well. Congratulations to the Race 2 Esport driver, who finishes 11th overall and makes a good headway in the amateur title.
Yeah, just I still think we were really spoiled there for a fantastic race, especially up the front. Rosenkrantz, of course, has just been absolutely flawless these past 2 rounds and really has put on an amazing just quality of driving. He's been fantastic. But then we had the likes of Alzagari, who looked really quick in that first stint. The Lafaro, of course, who was, for most of it, the fastest man on track. Schnabel could have fought for the win. Aberdeen, of course, definitely could have fought for the win. And we don't even know what the likes of Giovanacci could have done in this race. He's always quick, but just never seems to get the qualifying together. And Ben Ford as well, let's not forget him. He was rapid at the start of the race, overtook Rosenkrantz, of course, but just couldn't hold on to it and just faltered under pressure. But at the end of it, Chris Rosenkrantz comes away with a rather dominant victory, I'd say.
Yeah, 10 seconds clear in the end, but that does not tell the entire story ahead of Asgai. Cesana, Loparo, Alicon, Ford, Schnabel, Palach, Winkler and Aberdeen. Nice separation between the pros and the outs. Just Giovanacci really just spoiling that. Cabral in 11th, Pop, Araya, Grissette, Vela, Arroyo and Tambwe, those top 16 all finishing the race. I think something may have happened later on to Arroyo, which caused him to go 4 laps down, but he will still score points. Let's have a chat with 1 or 2 of our drivers, and first up we're going to have a chat. Well, actually, I will just give another shout out, by the way. Another Black Friday deal I will quickly mention is for Apex Racing Simulators. And of course, Apex Racing Simulators is where you can buy hardware, mainly from Virtual Racing School, with their wheelbase, pedals and wheel rim. And well, if you spend over £500 on hardware at Apex Racing Simulators, so that could be on a set of pedals, could be on the wheel rim, could be on the wheelbase as well, any of those products, you get 3 free months to Apex Racing Academy as well. So if you are interested in Apex Racing Academy and you need to get some hardware, that would be very good. Do visit Apex Racing Simulators in order to get your reward. Now, let's properly drag up our amateur race winner tonight, Cesar Cabral. Cesar, congratulations. We were talking just last week about how you really wanted to take a race victory, and you have done it later on. Congratulations.
Oh, man, I have no idea how happy I am. Actually, I don't know what to say. Pop did a really good job defending there. I just had one chance only, and yeah, I took it. After the chaotic start, I was like really frustrated because I knew that I have a pace, I knew that I have how to deliver and send it. At least the top 5 in the main race. But yeah, everything happened there. A big contact with everyone. I got lost, and then I tried to be returned to the track as safe as possible. But yeah, maybe I guess I hit someone and damaged my car, and it was so chaotic. And yeah, but in the end, finally, man, finally I did it. Jesus Christ.
It was a crazy race. There were so many mistakes from drivers. Like, we were counting it up, and I think out of the pros, there were about 2 drivers in the top 10 who didn't make mistakes. You seemed fairly error-free as well. I mean, what is it about the circuit which makes it so easy to make errors?
Actually, the track takes a while until you get a confidence enough to push into the limit. The car, it's too tight. I don't know how to explain. It's too hard. So if you give a little bit of gas in the wrong moment, when you are in the curbs, you totally lost the car. So and also, like, when you have a car really in front of you, the iRacing does the simulation really well. You cannot turn because you have not air in front of your front wing. So yes, you have problems to turn you and the car under steering a lot. So you must be really careful and take care of the tires as your baby, you know. So that's why when you have a chance to have a gap and not have a car in front of you, you can send it. But if you have cars in front of you fighting, you have a pace really damage. So that's is a little bit tricky in this track, and that's why I think that the next race will be a little bit more complicated in the last 2 corners. But yeah, so you have a mix, especially in the stadium there, and the second on the right, and the S's. If you are too close from the car in front, depend of how you get in the car, you cannot find the right apex. So you totally miss the speed, or you lose totally the car in the entry. So then you need to choose what you want: survive or catch the car in front.
Yeah, it seemed to be a tricky balance to secure there, but you absolutely nailed it tonight, Cesar. Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Just want to say that I'm really happy for that. Dedicate this victory to my wife, to my son, and I'm delighted. I'm so happy. Thanks for Pop for the wonderful fight and clean fight. Sorry for the deep dive, but I had to. I'm sorry. I was seeking for this victory for since the beginning of the season. And yeah, the championship is still alive. I'm just happy, and that's it. Thank you, and don't forget to follow the Race2A Sports and Instagram.
Definitely. Well, congratulations tonight, Cesar, and best of luck for the remaining rounds.
Thank you.
Cesar Cabral there. Absolutely delighted with that race win, as he should be. And who would you like to have a chat with next?
Oh, I think I'm going to go with Lafaro, to be honest. I'm just really curious. It's, the first question I've got, Lafaro, actually before that, just congratulations. That was a really, really lovely, I'm going to say first stint, because it was basically the whole race at the end. Honestly, was the tyre wear not that bad round here? Because you just set fastest lap after fastest lap.
Okay, the car, the tires of the car are, yeah, doesn't wear much, but I can guarantee you that the tire wear was kicking in. It was very, very, very difficult to stay on track. The tire wears almost done. But I said to myself that if I wanted to finish in a great spot, I had to risk it. So I knew that the tires needed some laps to get up to temperature. And so I said to myself, just pit in the last lap. I tried, and yes, it worked. Yeah, I think today I could win this one. Obviously, I'm disappointed. The qualifying was, yeah, I spun in the last in the last moment, and so I started from behind, and then at the start there was a lot of lagging, and I've been eaten by I don't know who because I saw nobody, and I suddenly I spin like someone touched me, and so I was 21 seconds behind. I finished at 16 seconds behind. So yeah, I could have win this, but it is what it is. I at least I've gained some points on Alarcon and Schnebel, but yeah, today I could have done more.
Yeah, we were talking about that pretty much throughout the race. Just there were so many people that could have taken the fight to Rosencrantz today, but just didn't really have the luck. But we got Barcelona next time out. Not too dissimilar to this track. How are you feeling towards that?
I don't know. Usually around Barcelona, there is always something missing by my side, but I'll try to make it work and hopefully have better luck.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you've said a few times this season that you don't quite have the pace, and then you blitz the rest of the field. So we can only hope that you can get another win next time out. But before we let you go, Giuseppe, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, in Italian.
Yeah.
Ciao Noemi, un bacio che mi guardi le gare, sono felicissimo e niente. Come hai visto, insomma, non sono partito benissimo, ho avuto un po' di sfortuna, però alla fine big brain time, li ho fottuti tutti e insomma sì. Un bacio, te la dedico.
Well, thank you for joining us, Lafara, and well, congratulations on a really, really good comeback drive, and good luck next week.
Bye.
Okay, next up we will talk with... Well, who do I want to have a chat with? I think I want to have a chat with Lennart Schnabel, who joins us now. Lennart, man, oh man, what a frustrating race that must have been. Because, I mean, obviously, lap 1, not going good. But then, you just seemed in traffic the whole time, and Ben ruined your race, and you could see Marcus up ahead of you. I mean, I'd understand if you're feeling fairly angry right now.
No, to be honest, I'm not really angry because I knew the pace was definitely there to finish somewhere in the top 3. If things wouldn't have gone south, but it was kind of like that was basically my fault, kind of at least, because I had massive wheel spin off the line, and then just get it going and got pushed wide in turn 1. While returning to the track, I touched with somebody. I haven't looked further into it so far. And then turn 3, we were basically on the south pole. That was, yeah, it couldn't get any worse than that. And from there on, it was just more like, yeah, get new tires and just drive. At the end, we did the whole race on one set of tires, basically, since that crash on lap 1. And for that, the pace was damn decent, especially at the end. I didn't expect to catch Alarcon at all, but yeah, it's still a bit frustrating when you see him basically right in front of you, and you know you had the pace to finish ahead of him.
Now, during the race, I felt like a bit of an armchair expert, and I was watching you guys race, and I was watching your battle as well. I was a bit surprised how reluctant you and some of your rivals were to use the overtake mode during the race. A couple of occasions where maybe you could have used it on the back straight. I mean, talk us through sort of your logic when you're using that overtake, and do you think had you been more aggressive with that overtake earlier on against Ben that you could have made the move, or do you not think the overtake necessarily aids you that much?
I mean, it could have worked out a little bit better. I just tried to save it till the end because there was no point of me just wasting it right at the beginning. I mean, could have worked out differently, but at the end, I felt like that was still a decent decision to save it. Because if we could have caught up to Alarcon properly, then he still would have had boost, and we could have stand there without any. So yeah, it's like there's not really any advantage of using it too early. So I was just saving it, and I mean at the beginning we didn't know where we where we gonna finish. We didn't know our pace because I did some changes in the practice. Just lower the front nose to get more front grip, and that worked out perfectly. Yeah, but I mean with boost, I don't know.
And
I'll
how?
never get-
And of course, we were of course wrapped up in your battle, but also I imagine you were aware of what the battle that Lee was in, and how he had a real shot at the race win. Can you give us any insight as to his reaction when he got the penalty? I assume you guys are in Discord together.
Well, I didn't know what was going on now. I just saw him leaving the pits behind me. I was like, what the fuck happened there? Oh, sorry for that. And yeah, it was a bit unlucky. He pushed the pit limit twice. I mean, it happens. Gotta learn from it and move on. But from his battle, I was just in my tunnel. Cared about my own stuff during the race. But obviously for the team, it's a bit frustrating with Lee possibly achieving a P2 or maybe even P1, and then finishing in 10th is definitely frustrating, but we'll move on.
Definitely. Well, hopefully he keeps up that good form, and hopefully, Lennart, you're able to keep up your good pace as well from tonight. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to the whole team, especially to Kev. I have no clue where you were today, but I hope we can race next week again as a team. But yeah, shout out to you guys. Yeah, that was basically it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming up and having a chat, Lennart, and we'll see you back next week.
Thank you.
So that was Lennart Schnabel there, finishing in 7th place tonight. Quick rundown of the scores, by the way, after this round. Alarcon 530, Schnabel 494, Lofari 465, and Rosenkrantz 439. So Rosenkrantz now 91 points off the championship. He's reduced it by about 40% with tonight's result. In the AMS, Pop 287, KBR 282, Grosseto 281. So it's very tasty, particularly now in the AMS, Aaron.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're all going to be honest, we know Grosseto just has that pace. He just needs to stop making mistakes, and he can probably win this championship by a long way, since he was, I think, running in like 5th and 6th at one point, but just keeps making these mistakes that we've seen throughout this season. And it is a bit of a shame, but I think if he just goes away, just calms down a bit and just knuckles down, getting a bit more practice in, I definitely think he can win that amateur championship. But it honestly seems like anything can happen, and the pros, not so sure about. I think Alarcon's consistency, even today, he didn't really have the pace and still finished 5th. If that's going to be Alarcon's worst race, then I think he's going to be the favourite. But of course, he didn't turn up in round 1, so he is at a bit of a disadvantage at the moment. So he just needs to keep being consistent, and I think the Spaniard can do it.
Yeah, decent argument for Alarcon being the 10th fastest tonight, and yet he still finished in 5th position. So he was up there with Rosenkrantz as the guys who didn't make mistakes, and so that will really help him when it comes to the championship finish. We've still got 3 more rounds of this championship to go. You can still enter the series if you want a taste of the Super Formula cars. Do visit Apex Racing League for that. And of course, a reminder once again of those Black Friday deals from Apex Racing Academy and Apex Racing Simulators. 500 quid if you spend at Apex Racing Simulators, then you get a few, 3 months free of Apex Racing Academy. And then also you can use the code ARASAVE23 at Apex Racing Academy in order to get 40% off a silver subscription for a year. That is ARASAVE23. You can go to apexracingac.com in order to redeem that. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Please do leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the Apex Racing League and Apex Racing TV social media channels on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Aaron Smith, and from Samuli Kume, we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you back next week at Barcelona for round 9 of the season. See you then.